I hope this finds you doing well. So we've been going through Deuteronomy chapter number 4, and I'm going to stay in that chapter a little bit more. There's so many little rich nuggets there. In verse number 20, he says, "But the Lord has taken you and brought you out of the iron furnace, out of Egypt, to be a people of his own inheritance, as you are this day." Now, as we've journeyed through looking at Exodus and in Numbers, every time the people complained, they had a tie that, it would have been better for us to died in Egypt. We remember the leeks and the garlic of Egypt. They completely forgot the horror that being slaves in Egypt was. They completely somehow forgot the miraculous deliverance that they had seen, and they missed out on so much of, what God had done for them, that they had been brought into a covenant with God. He affirms this Mosaic covenant going all the way back to Abraham and says, "You're my people." He showed them his presence through the pillar of the cloud and the pillar of fire. And now as he's preparing them to go into the land, he's saying, we looked at last time, keep yourself from idols. He had said in Exodus, tear down all of those altars because they will be a distraction. And in verse 20, he refers to their time in Egypt as he goes, "I brought you out of the iron furnace." For what purpose? To be a people of his own inheritance. This is a beautiful expression of a loving God. In Titus chapter number 2, verse 14, he says, "Who gave himself for us to redeem us from all lawlessness and to purify for himself a people for his own possession, who are zealous for good works." So we who are believers by faith in the finished work, we live under a completely new covenant. But he wants us to remember that it was him who brought us out. It wasn't our own good works. It wasn't some merit that we earned that brought about our salvation. He is the one who has redeemed us. He is the one that set us free from all the bondage, the slavery to sin, the enslavement to follow after our impulses and temptations and whatever the old man might desire. But he says, now I've given you a new nature and you're a new people, and I've redeemed you to be a people who are zealous for good works. He tells them again in verse 21, he says, "Furthermore, the Lord was angry with me because of you, and he swore that I should not cross the Jordan and that I should not enter the good land that the Lord your God is giving you for an inheritance." So Moses, remember when he, instead of speaking to the rock as God told him, in his frustration with the rebellion of the people, he hit the rock twice. And he's saying, I don't get to cross that Jordan. I don't get to enter that good land. For I must die in this land. I must not go over to Jordan, but you shall go over and take possession of that good land. Take care lest you forget the covenant of the Lord your God, which he made with you, and make a carved image in form of anything that the Lord your God has forbidden you. He says, take care to remember the covenant. He had warned them many times, break down those altars, destroy those idols, don't take their women because they'll get you to whoring after other gods. And we've talked about this in our new covenant sense is it's important that we don't forget the new covenant. We need to remember that the new covenant isn't a performing covenant. The new covenant is a receiving covenant. We receive all that he is into our lives. We were sinners, we're made righteous. We were sinners, he makes us saints. He redeems us. He makes us holy. We become his temple and he lives in us. But that's not even the end of the story, because then it would be all about us and how wonderful we are. He created us to be a people who are zealous for good works. So much of religion and Christianity in the Western world has had a blending of the covenants. You receive Christ by grace through faith, and then the Christian religious world will set you on a treadmill of performing for acceptance, for favor, for goodness. He says, remember the covenant. You are favored by him because of his perfect sacrifice. But also remember that a part of that covenant is that he died for you so he could live in you, and living in you, express his life through you. So don't let there be any idols. Don't let there be any distractions from who God is in you and who you are in him. Don't let yourself bow down to the love of the world and the things of the world, the love of money, or be distracted by entertainment or anything that would move you from your singular focus of devotion for your King and kingdom. Then in verse 24, as he says, for the Lord your God is a consuming fire, a jealous God. Now we often think of jealousy kind of in a negative term, because most of our human jealousy is that way. But God is passionate about us. He says, I gave all so that I could secure you to myself. And I'm jealous for you. I'm jealous for your attention. I'm jealous. I desire a relationship with you. He did all of this, the sending of the Son by the Father to go to the cross so he could walk in an intimate relationship with you. Don't miss out on that. 1 Peter 2:9 says, but you are a chosen race, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, a people of his own possession, that you may proclaim the excellencies of him who called you out of darkness into his marvelous light. What was our condition before Christ? Darkness. And he called us out of darkness that he might reveal his light in us and through us, that we might proclaim his excellencies, the excellencies of him, not of us, of him. We are a priest. We don't need a priest. We have direct access to him. And we have the ability to be a priest to others in that we bring them the light of the good news. He's a jealous God. He's a consuming fire. Hebrews 12:29 says, for our God is a consuming fire. What does it mean? It's not fire in the sense of destruction. It's fire in the sense of purification. He's jealous for you. And he's working to consume everything that is a distraction from the King and the kingdom. Even in the judgment seat of Christ, which has nothing to do with our sin, but everything to do with our works. He says that we go through the fire, and all of our works that are done in the flesh, whether good or bad, they go through and they're consumed. All the wood, hay, and stubble is consumed, and all that's left is gold and silver and precious stones. And that's good news, because the consuming fire allows us to go into the eternal heavenlies with him for eternity, with no residue of the flesh. So today, remember, you are a beloved child of the new covenant. And remember, that covenant isn't about what you do in order to gain or maintain salvation, favor, righteousness, any of it. You receive it as a gift. But also, you allow your life to be in responsive obedience to his indwelling presence. That life isn't about things and the accumulating of more, but of being a people who are zealous for good works. Zealous for good works, because we understand that when we were in darkness, he redeemed us and he set us free. Now that's good news, and I hope it encourages you. God bless.